What's up, fam? How you doing? It's your boy Gerald. It is the 8th of May. No, 7th, isn't it? It's the 7th. Let me make sure I'm right. No, it's May 8th, Wednesday. Yes, we're hump day. You're halfway through your work week. If you're working, you're going to school, you're halfway through, and you're going to enjoy your weekend. I just know this is going to be a great weekend. We are in the midst of spring. And let me throw this out here real quick because you're going to hear some background. I've got my TV on. And so let me throw that disclaimer. Any sound reproduction is covered by the Privacy Act, uh, as well as the copyright protection of fair use and education. This is not for privacy. This is not for piracy. And just want to throw that out there because I know that some people are worried about their entitlement, and rightfully so. So I felt like putting a video out this morning because I had an occurrence yesterday as I was starting my day going off to work, and I happened at the right moment, divine moment in time, as I was heading in, I happened to see my ex. And coincidentally, which nothing is coincident, everything is divine, she was in front of my vehicle as we were going on the same direction, same highway. But it didn't dawn on me at first because of the fact that I didn't recognize her vehicle that she was driving, even though she has personalized tags. I didn't realize that until I'm like 20 seconds into committing into the direction I was going. And then, just like a bell, bing, her tags, it resonated. And you're on a public road, you're going in the same direction. But I didn't want to. Peace and blessings, Missy. How are you? I didn't want to make it seem awkward. So, the first opportunity that I could, I tried to get over and proceed to my destination, which was work. And at the same moment, I noticed that her speed wasn't really speeding up. And just so happened there was a vehicle at the same time paralleling the same speed I was. So I was behind her for a little bit. So when the opportunity presented itself, I made sure I got around the vehicle that was to my left and from behind her because that was enough time. Um, if you're not indirectly happen to look in the rear view, she would have saw my Jeep, and that's fine. That's fine because there's no ill will in my heart, never will be, and I want nothing but the best. But I also received a validation in hindsight because I'm a firm believer that if anything that you do that comes from a pure place, you're gonna feel it. You're gonna feel it within inside your core. And just like that, I felt it. But I smiled and I proceeded on. And as I got to the base and I pulled in and I kind of reflected for a second, I realized, I said, wow, because I had decided to leave for work early than I normally do. And I realized I've always joked in the past that God is the ultimate comedian. But when it comes to the things you need to know at the precise moment in time, he'll let you know. He'll use whatever he needs to connect with you. Why? Because you are a spiritual being first before you were made of flesh. The human body is only a tool for this dimension, for this realm, so that it will protect as well as guide the completion of your story. Because that's the end goal. The end goal is what you stood for, the connections you make, and the experiences that you learn from. So this morning, as I woke up, I got my coffee right here. I got my coffee. I do. I got my coffee. Cheers to you. Um, I realized, I said, I could have left on my normal time and I would have not crossed paths. But I've come to realize in these last 6 years, because I've been on YouTube now uh, almost 6 years, that the people that are in your life are your validations as well as your lessons. But it is your responsibility to go within yourself, to allow yourself to grow, to evolve, to be present and accountable for you. It's nobody else's responsibility. That is why a lot of times, family, you'll come to understand that there'll be people that have significance in your life, maybe because of a positive impact or a less than. The caveat on that is, what did you gain from the moment? And that is why a lot of times, family, when you look back at your life, like for example, it is May 2019. Just take a second to think back where you were May or 2015. Now tell me why you don't smile. Do you realize how many people that you have interacted with, how many conversations that have been spawned from that, how many things that were exposed to you to help your progression? Now, you may be in a situation where you're saying, well, Gerald, look, I hear what you're saying, but that challenge that I had in 2014 or 2015, it still exists today. So the question should be asked, have you gained any knowledge? And when are you going to allow yourself to graduate from that? Because you do know, family, that as long as we choose to not take accountability, and what I mean by not take accountability is acknowledge what is going on, it will continue. You're breathing life in that, but it is depleting you of yours. Who am I talking to? You are in the midst of spring, family, 2019. what are you going to be doing summertime? You got goals for things you want to take care of this summer? Is it somewhere that you plan to embrace something, start new? Only you know that. And the reason why I'm throwing that out there, because still in 2019, as much technology, which is kind of ironic because you would think as a society as advanced as we are, we still won't pick the phone up. We still will not allow ourselves to be transparent to ourselves. Why? Don't you know that's what holds your smile from being shown to the world, which is the ultimate gift you could ever give to the world, other than being present, is your smile. Because there's none like it. It is like looking at a diamond. Granted, from afar, a diamond looks the same, but when you look at it up close, every one is unique. Every one is different, no matter the cut, the size, the weight. It is its own. So I put that out there because there are still, I think the last tally was 7.5 billion people on this planet, and roughly 50% of those people have yet to claim their own identity. They are afraid to find comfort in themselves. And what I'm saying about it is, I used to always say this in my videos, that those people that you call friend, which is the most sacred word that can be bestowed to a person, because the word friend is the descriptive word of unconditional love. But I also asked, if they're your friend, because there's a difference between being a confidant and a friend. Because a confidant is someone you confide in, but do they have your best interest? And if they have your best interest, guess what? They are the living example of that, because they apply that to themselves. But I also put out there that to truly see if a person has your best interest, ask them what their purpose is. See, if a person knows what their purpose is, they ain't got to think about it. They speak it. They speak it into existence because it is them. They're one and the same. It is you. That is the personification of the makings of you. Because, as I mentioned before, other than your smile, the greatest gift that you could ever bestow a person is your presence, not the present. Being present, being aware. That is what memories are made of. But we have adapted a behavior practice of cultivating more introverted people. And that is why you see so many people now having behavioral outbursts. Because deep down inside, they just want to feel whole. But how can you feel whole if you don't know you? It should not take the proverbial last straw for you to first hear your voice for the first time. Because what happens? The people around you put the mute button on. It goes in one ear and out the other, and you don't deserve that. Now, one thing we can all agree on, we teach people how we wish to be treated. However, We can't make anyone do what they don't want to do. So that blows away the excuse of it just happened. Nothing happens. It is free will, it is a choice. It is our choice to accept what behavior is being offered or being waged at your value and worth of who you are. So you have a lot of people walking around in turmoil. You see it. You see it in their behavior. You see it in the way they drive. How you like that these days? It wasn't like that a couple years ago. Now it's like, hey, people driving around like they got to go use the toilet. That's scary. That's really, really scary. Plus, you don't know what that person may have just experienced, and you are the linchpin for their reaction because that's what it is. It's about the reaction, how they can get you to react. Don't fall for that, family. Um, Give me 1 second because the chat is on, and I see that you did write something, and I want to respond to it. God is good. God is good. Yes, that connection is kindred. Why? Because you are family. And guess what? All things that are hidden will be revealed. Why? Because that is your God given right. And I heard someone say um, last week, matter of fact, I got to give credit where credit is. Uh, Comedian Corey Holcomb. If you have he has a podcast, he has a YouTube channel. Check him out. Usually it's every Tuesday night, West Coast, West Coast time. But he said something prolific uh, last week. He said that when you tell lies, eventually those lies will tell on you because it has to. It's about the divine reset. And when you think about it, when you have someone that you notice when a person refuses to stand in their own truth, they're never at peace. It's like looking at a tempest in the distance, a quiet storm in the distance coming your way. You got a choice. You can choose to stand there and deal with what comes with it, or you can sidestep it and persevere. But think of it this way. As I've always said before in the past, an opportunist does not need your help to expose themselves. But what is required is you have the courage to acknowledge what is being shown because that still gives you a choice. That gives you a choice to decide if that is being offered is of your standard. But it matters not until you decide. Ultimately, when you're going to love you, until you're able to say, without a shadow of a doubt, I love me, will all the trajectories of your life start to align. It's like, think about it when you were going through your educational development. The teacher was not going to pass you until you mastered whatever the curriculum was. Why? Yeah, they could have pencil whipped it and sent you on. But if they had any ethics and integrity about themselves, why would they send someone that is not developed to fail. Because ultimately, it'll be your experience, but it'll be their reflection. Who am I talking to? So when you always hear the soundbite of Jack Nicholson and Tom Cruise, Few Good Men. I want the truth. And he replies with arrogance, you can't handle the truth. But the truth is you. Why do you think we age? We age naturally for two reasons. One, to constantly evolve and be the personification. And the other is the opposite. It is to destroy what does not serve us. And that's why a lot of times you may see some people that you know, and life has not been kind. Time has not been kind. But at the end of the day, we all have our own stories to cultivate, our own experiences to foster. That's why I always throw out there and give credit to actor, R&B artist Tyrese Gibson because of making the song Walk. If you've never heard the song Walk, family, listen to it. Go right up here. Listen to it. It's like spoken word, but listen to what he says because that's about life all day. And one thing that resonated when I first heard it, first time I heard that song, I was going through a really bad breakup. Matter of fact, the person that I was in love with, the person I was going to marry, I was going to marry her, was the person I saw yesterday. But when I say to you that I have no ill will, I don't, because I would not trade where I am now compared to where I was. And I don't say that with shade at all, because I'm going to tell you what, if you've never seen my very first YouTube post, I invite you to take a look at it. Because that brother had nothing but emptiness, but it was also that emptiness that was my rock bottom emotionally. And that rock bottom gave me the courage to tap into my spirituality. And I'm going to tell you what, real recognizes real. And the more you tap into yourself, the more that you allow yourself to connect to the Most High, guess what? All things that were entitled to you. Because some of us, we kind of second guess ourselves and we think that time that we once had has once passed, we can't get it back. And I'm here to tell you, family, just like those gifts and talents that you have, the moment that you decide to stand on your own feet, and I mean that with love, the moment when you decide to be comfortable with yourself, that'll be the door that you're going to walk through, and you're going to see that that was an appropriate time to share it. Because no gift that was given to you by your first breath is wasted. That's why, excuse me, the biggest the the biggest poem I always hear through my queens. Why don't I have a man in my life, Gerald? That's so generic. Because you just don't want a man, you want the woman. And some get so frustrated, they take measures in their own hand and they put on this emotional shield like Sojourner Truth, and they seek through experience and they try things thinking that that is the now. But that ain't your forever. That's why a lot of times when all was required was for you to stop, allow yourself to survey, look at the things that make you feel uneasy. Because sometimes people will compartmentalize the things that hurt, and it may stem back to your childhood. Let's call it for what it is. Some of y'all still have deep wounds from your childhood and don't realize those same very wounds are what makes your reality, to make your perception, even at times, can jade it. Because when you look back, when nobody's looking, and you're able to be in tune with yourself, you're honest. You say, you know what? I would have never done that if I knew what I knew now. Or the worst, or the opposite. You ain't got to worry about that because they ain't there. But that does not give you the right to beat yourself up, to allow yourself to stand in misery, or adapt the doorway to depression. The one thing I will say that I'm very grateful in these last 6 years, because there's been a lot of things that I've discussed that now have made the narrative socially. 6 years ago, nobody was talking about depression, mental health. Nobody was talking about that. 6 years ago, nobody was talking about finding your finding your way by speaking your truth. Nobody used the term "speak your truth." I know where it came from though, because I spoke that into existence. Because everything that comes from me comes from a place of love. I want you to see your sunshine and sunrise. I want you to be the best you. I want, at a minimum, to be the voice of reason that you may not have in your present. But just know this: all things are temporary. Man will never be able to master time, but will be taught through experience to respect it. So, once again, why aren't you loving you? Why? Why are you worried about if this is going to blow up? Why are you checking? Why are you spending so much energy, wondering what they doing? Why? Because the person, see, look, you'll come to understand if you have not. The people that have most direct access to your life are nothing but living manifestations of your state of mind. So if it's positive, proactive, empowering, it will also correlate the way you move, the way you think. Because the whole misconception of opposites attract is a lie. That's a facade. That's a facade. Like-minded is what it is. That's what attraction is about. But can people change? Yes. You can change whenever you make this decide, when you decide to do the work. If you're tired of the condition that is present, change it. But you can't change it until you're willing to be transparent with yourself and acknowledge it's present. That doesn't mean that you have to be a bull in a china shop. It doesn't. It just means that you know at a minimum, okay, this is what's going on. Why is it going on? What role did I play in this? And what do I need to do so I can transcend it? That's why you'll notice this too, family. I'm watching this time. You'll notice that you'll have some people that will use your life as a form of entertainment to distract them from theirs. And that's why certain conversations and certain narratives that you have only go a certain way. You can't have certain conversations, but yet they want to say, I'm keeping it real. How can you call yourself being real if you will not even embrace your emotions? Do you realize not embracing your emotions, you are literally living the personification of Walking Dead? Did you know that? Because your emotional state is a spiritual gift. It's also a validation to your environment that you're in. So tell me once again why you don't deserve that. Because I'm here to tell you you are. Now, so I got to throw it out there like I always do. Because socially we've allowed this right here to be what moves. When's the last time you went up in this and looked at those people that have earned access to your life and you assessed that connection? It's okay to purge them out. Because if they're not in your present, they may not be in your future. And that's okay. Because we already heard the saying, people come into your life for a reason or a season. But it's your responsibility of how it's defined. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. You realize how many people deep down inside will put on a show every day when they step outside the door, but they dread going home? Because you know what's at home? The real them. They don't like the fact that they're alone. And they beat themselves up emotionally because they're single. Let me tell you something. That's a privilege. You say, well, why you say that's a privilege, Gerald? Maybe I want to have my happy ever after. Now, your happy ever after will come when you're ready for it. You don't want Mr. Right. You want Mr. Forever or Mrs. Forever. That's what you want. That's the end goal. But see, we live in a world nowadays that we're so worried about being politically correct than being truthful. And silently you're in turmoil because you won't be honest to yourself, hoping that an outcome will be different from the last ones. You do know, as Einstein coined it, if you constantly put forth the same behavior expecting a different outcome, that's insanity because that ain't going to change. It ain't going to change. So let me bring this home. So earlier this week, I turned around and I did an update about my taxes, right? And the one thing that I realized in hindsight, I should have been more proactive and not have been afraid of it because we get so caught up in routine than direction. You know, it's just like with a credit card. You know, What keeps you from just paying the bill off compared to just putting something on it? Now, I understand we have life responsibilities, and sometimes that's not afforded. And I get that. And I'm not going to sit up here and say that's wrong. But the one thing I've realized that the longer that you decide not to put you first, somebody else going to benefit from it. Maybe time or money. How you doing, Gretchen? How you doing? How you doing, Lee? Make this the season, family. Don't worry about the things you don't have control of. Don't worry about that. Focus on the things you do. Sometimes maybe the only things required of you to do is just be present and take note. That's why a lot of times, family, when you think about it, when you hear about things going on, even though sometimes we do live in a world, well, we do live in a world of propaganda and constant indoctrination of showing it all the time. Why? Because they want to change the way you think. They want to change how you see the world, and they want you to slowly but surely compromise yourself. If it don't bring you happiness, why invest in it? Why entertain it? You know, you may have heard the elders always say, well, that's not my cup of tea. Okay. Well, maybe you're supposed to be drinking water. What about that? That's okay. You know, why is it that we will spend so much time trying to chase somebody down, but that ain't energy given back into the investment of you? Why? Because we have allowed the social narrative to convince us that's the behavior and tactic you're supposed to do. No. By doing so, all that does is distract you from your initial goal anyway. And maybe that experience is not the outcome that was supposed to happen because you got something better. And that was a distraction from you to see it. You ever thought about that? Maybe right now you may have said, look, I want to focus on my health and I'm trying to eat better and I need to do certain things so that I stay on point. But every time that you try to do so, there's a distraction waiting for you to fall off, not support. You know why? Because everything's a test. Everything's a test. But guess what? You already have the answer to it. The question is, will you accept it? Because you already know. You already know what you need to do. Okay. Give me once. Okay. I'm sorry, family, because the chat's going. Um. Okay, you asked me. Missy asked me, are connections mutual? Some are divine and some are not. Because guess what? As I always say, an opportunist doesn't need your help to expose himself. Guess what? They already know what you bring to the table from the first hello. They just hope that you don't see it. Otherwise, or better yet, haven't you noticed whenever whatever connection you come into, may it be emotionally or may it be for a financial standpoint, the moment that you decide to change the trajectory of it for yourself, the connection breaks, leaving you scratching your head. Why? Because they didn't want you to find that out for yourself. So it was actually their benefit. Or flip it. Why is it that they're never there, but let something fall short They're right there to watch you go through it. Never to pick you up, never to support you, never to tell you what you need to know, only what you want to hear. Those people then I know people get mad when I say that, but you got some people that don't deserve to hear you breathe. They're not. We all go to Walmart, don't, but that doesn't mean we well speak to everybody in there, but we go there, right? Same thing with life. You interact with people all the time, doesn't mean you're gonna have a relationship with them. There's a reason why people come into your life. It should be to evolve you, to get you to the next level. I'm not saying it from the perspective of the hookup. I'm saying to educate and validate your direction. Otherwise, you got to question, why are they there? Why are they there? Maybe it's to slow you down. You ever thought about that? But nonetheless, it's midweek. I hope you guys have a blessed week. Stay true to you. And if something happens today where it causes a rock in the stream, celebrate the positive, but keep it moving. And I'm going to tell you why. Because when you are true to yourself, you are transparent, you speak your truth, not out of anger, but out of honesty, they'll never forget you. You will more or less become like the flicker of the flame to the moth. No matter where that flame is people are going to always see it because the flicker's inside you and the impact is in them. You don't believe me? Watch, but don't waste a day saying coulda, woulda, shoulda. When you have doubt, take a step back, ask yourself why am I seeing this? What do I need to do? What role do I play? Own that. Because maybe that experience is really insight, because you'll find out that your wisdom is also your truth. You better smile today. Don't let nobody rob you of it. Why you think the sun shines? Because all those beautiful smiles making it come out. Bye.